An 85-mile-long stretch of international border between the U.S. and Canada cuts through nearly 1.7 million acres of wilderness managed by the U.S. Forest Service and the U.S. National Park Service in north-central Washington state, and on the Canadian side, the province of British Columbia. The 531,000-acre Pasayten Wilderness was designated in 1968 and is managed by the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest. It boasts almost 150 peaks over 7,500 feet in elevation, 160 or more bodies of water. Bordering the Pasayten Wilderness is the 634,000-acre Stephen Mather Wilderness, which was designated in 1988. The 119,000-acre Mount Baker Wilderness, which borders this area, was designated in 1984. In British Columbia, Canada, there are numerous provincial parks along this section of the international border, totaling almost 400,000 acres. The sheer size of the protected ecosystem is especially important to species requiring large, undisturbed areas, such as wolverine and grizzly bear.
Wilderness serves as an environment with few humans, where animals that are prone to direct human contact can seek refuge. Wolverines require large tracts of wild land, and here we're fortunate to have this huge expanse of wilderness.
Almost every one of our radio-collared wolverines has had a home range that's either gone onto the park or into Canada, and so we've had to cooperate with biologists from those entities.
So as you step off of National Park Service wilderness, you step right into Forest Service wilderness. So it's like a seamless boundary, which of course is exactly what the wildlife within the wilderness needs.
The area also provides unparalleled opportunities for solitude and primitive and unconfined recreation, with approximately 1,700 miles of trail throughout the area, including the northern terminus of the Pacific Crest Trail. The Forest Service, National Park Service, Border Patrol, and Canadian officials must work together and coordinate activities to successfully manage this large block of wilderness across agency boundaries.
On the Methow Valley Ranger District, we enjoy very positive partnerships, and really anytime you're managing across a boundary, it's all about the relationships. And I think the time that we've invested in partnering with the Park Service, with Canada, with the Border Patrol has paid off huge dividends in terms of just a wilderness area that's better managed, well appreciated, and all of us having a better understanding for the different mandates that each of our agencies share.
The U.S. Forest Service and National Park Service manage wilderness areas in compliance with the 1964 Wilderness Act. Each agency has its own direction in wilderness management, and slight differences in the approach to management can prove challenging as the agencies strive to coordinate and cooperate across agency lines.
Wilderness character has 4 components. The first component is untrammeled, which means that the ecosystems are free from human manipulation, such as thinning or planting of different tree species. The second quality is that it's undeveloped, and that just means that there are no roads or new developments or human habitation within wilderness. The third quality is natural, which means that the natural ecosystems are in play and they're not influenced by human manipulation or modern civilization. And the fourth component of wilderness character is the outstanding opportunities for solitude or primitive and unconfined recreation. What it all boils down to is if there's a situation where there's a choice between wilderness character or values and visitor or other type of activities, the wilderness values always win out. Things like economy or convenience or comfort really don't come into play when making big decisions about management or activities within wilderness.
Generally, we like to perpetuate a feeling of freedom and unconfined recreation that's mentioned in the Wilderness Act, and we try to do our management more indirectly, and so that people have that freedom when they're in the wilderness. So we may try to emphasize education means or other things to keep people's behavior compatible with the resource, but not actually designate where they can and cannot go.
So I think one of the challenges is just that the public doesn't see any difference between a national park and a Forest Service wilderness area. And so to help the public understand that there are differences in how we manage where they can camp, if they can have a dog.
And we just have to explain to people that there are different objectives with the agencies and that neither answer or neither way is right. It's just different approaches to managing the same resource.
The Forest Service and Park Service also coordinate with Canadian officials in the management of these wild lands. A memorandum of understanding allows firefighting resources to be shared across the border to manage or suppress fires. The result is a successful international relationship to address wildland fire control.
We have an excellent relationship with our Canadian firefighting partners. We have what's called the Red Zone along the border that extends between 1 and 5 miles into the United States.
If we had a fire that got out of the United States and went into Canada, it had a lot of potential to damage some resource values that they didn't want to see go up in smoke.
Fires within that red zone, we would take direct suppression action in. Most wilderness areas, we would first analyze whether or not suppression efforts were necessary. And so that's an example of cooperating with the Canadian government.
The terrorist attacks on September 11th added another dimension of interagency coordination in these wilderness areas as our nation increased the emphasis on securing our international borders.
I got a call on the radio informing me of what had gone on that day. We cut our trip short, came out. Not too long after that, the Border Patrol started increasing their staffing. I think they went from 5 or 6 folks to around 50. And it became pretty obvious that rather than just watch the port of entry like they'd done in the past, they were pretty interested in watching the whole border.
The Department of Homeland Security was established as a result of 9/11, the terrorist attacks. The Border Patrol's primary mission now is to focus on stopping terrorism and terrorist weapons from entering the United States. However, we still maintain our legacy mission of protecting everything between the ports of entry and stopping illegal immigration, and also helping with the flow of legal immigration.
Here within the Oroville Station area of operations, we face numerous and varying transnational threats to our national security. The air domain threat is ever present. National security threats pertaining to terrorism are documented in this area. Narcotics and currency smuggling, as well as illegal alien smuggling, are very active in this area.
Forest Service employees from the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest and Border Patrol agents from the Oroville office began meeting on a regular basis over a decade ago to work to blend national security goals with wilderness management.
There were obviously going to be some conflicting goals there, and I knew politically that if push came to shove, they had the ultimate trump card, and that was national security. And considering the fact that we'd just been attacked, we were going to have to work with them.
An idea they had of building cabins, permanent structures in the wilderness area. And our meetings got pretty intense on our side anyway when we hear things like that, which are really in major conflict with our wilderness objectives. And it took quite a while really to explain the wilderness management objectives in those early meetings. Border Patrol desired to use helicopters, and they ended up using helicopters to bring in their camps, but they also really had a desire to patrol the border with helicopters as well, which we really didn't want that type of visibility and impact in the wilderness area. It was counter to our wilderness objectives of minimal impact, minimum visibility.
We kind of developed a rapport. We offered as much stuff as we thought we could to assist them with their ability to operate light on the land out there.
We also had meetings with them in the field where our wilderness rangers would actually meet the Border Patrol agents where they're camping in the field. And at those camps, it would be a great opportunity where they talk about leave no trace camping techniques and about wilderness regulations, which the Border Patrol has been great in helping us enforce.
We became very close. It was there was a lot of mutual understanding and partnership developed through those meetings.
They were willing to listen, and we were willing to listen to their needs, and it worked out actually fairly well.
And basically said, what can I do for you? And they were like, how can we help you? And learning from each other, and we would go to their orientations and teach their people summer crews, tell them what the Border Patrol was looking for, and help and help and help as much as we can.
The National Park Service has a strong relationship with the Department of Homeland Security and recognizes the needs to have border security efforts in areas that national parks manage.
When we've explained to them that these are our priorities and we really want to work with them to assist them in their priorities too, then we've come to that understanding.
We conduct joint trainings. We have a joint mission, actually. Our mission is to protect America from terrorist weapons. Park Service and Forest Service are patently aware of that, and they help us.
Through the years, the Border Patrol adapted its approach to better align with wilderness.
But there are many considerations that the Border Patrol must take in patrolling these remote, rugged, and specifically wilderness areas.
When we first started, they had tents that they provided for their backcountry crews all summer. Had large pack streams, and as we've worked with them and their needs, and also as they've understood some of our needs, they've been able to reduce the size of their camps, the size of their pack streams, and the overall impact not only on the sites themselves, but how much grades that their pack stock are currently using.
We utilize a right tools at the right time approach to minimize our footprint, our impact on those areas.
The Border Patrol uses stock in the wilderness to reduce the amount of helicopter flights into the Pasayten Wilderness. We can use the stock to patrol the border and thereby lessen the impact or footprint that we leave in the wilderness.
The Oroville Border Patrol Station is the only station in the patrol that utilizes pack horses and pack mules. The Oroville Border Patrol Station has been deploying pack strings into the wilderness for more than a decade. And in that time frame, both advances in technology, advances in the way we conduct our operations, and developing a greater understanding of the wilderness has led to numerous changes. Agents often just utilize bedrolls and sleep on the move. It allows them to cover a much greater area during their patrols, move faster to address detected threats, and leave a much smaller footprint in the wilderness area. People don't know that we've ever been there.
And their agents just keep moving through the wilderness as they go, which is better for them in terms of patrolling large areas, and it really reduces the number of animals that they take on the trails, which reduces the impacts to the trails, and then also at camp.
So again, we've minimized conflict with the users of the wilderness area while still meeting the Border Patrol goals.
All the meetings and cooperation have created a working relationship that benefits the goals of both the Forest Service and Border Patrol.
So over the past 10 years, we've developed a very strong relationship with the Border Patrol, with the agents from the Oroville office. And we really do have we've developed a mutually beneficial relationship with them. The Border Patrol is able to be in the wilderness in uniform, which helps increase our official presence in the wilderness. We only have a few wilderness rangers spread across 500,000 acres, so we're very thin in terms of staffing. And the Border Patrol helps us, and they give us reports about people that they see and activities that are going on that we just would miss.
We balance the considerations of both the United States Forest Service, the leave no trace principles, with our own priorities.
Well, the Border Patrol provides a great eyes and ears out there on the trail, and they keep track of the number of visitors that they see out there on the trails, and that really helps us as wilderness rangers track the visitor use in the backcountry, and so we have a great exchange of information between us that is beneficial to both agencies.
By working together with the Border Patrol, we really have helped strengthen each other's, both of the agencies' goals. It's not perfect. We still have a long way to go in understanding all the nuances of border security, and the Border Patrol has some ways to go in learning the nuances of wilderness management, but we really are working together in partnership to keep the country safe and manage the Pasayten Wilderness.
The Forest Service and Park Service employees managing the wilderness areas and the Border Patrol agents assigned to the area have spent the past 10 years working together to blend homeland security efforts with wilderness protection. The intricate web of international and interagency coordination and cooperation is a balance of agency and international goals, a success story in wilderness stewardship.